I never imagined that a struggling company could rise from the ashes to change countless lives. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It was early morning, the sun just peeking over the horizon, casting its golden light on the city. As I sat in that cramped office, my heart raced. I could feel the weight of failure pressing down on me, heavy like a stone. Everything we built was crumbling. My fingers trembled as I scrolled through emails filled with disappointment and despair. The numbers were stark, unforgiving. My gaze shifted to the photos on my desk, all smiles and laughter, reminders of better days. My team, my friends that I glanced at Sam, his eyes filled with anxiety. We had started this journey together, fueled by passion and hope. Now, we stood on the edge of a precipice. We can still turn this around, he whispered, but the doubt hung thick in the air. Margaret, head of marketing, sat chewing her lip, staring at the empty coffee cup like it held the answers we needed. It should have been a brainstorming session, filled with energy and light. Instead, it felt more like a funeral. If only we could come up with one innovative idea, just one. The silence was suffocating. I remembered the stories I'd heard of companies on the brink, who somehow found their way back to the top, like phoenixes rising from the ashes. Hope flickered inside me, but it was dim and fragile. Suddenly, the door burst open. The sound shattered the silence, and we jumped. In walked a stranger, drenched from the rain, with wild hair and an electrifying presence. "I hear you're in trouble," he proclaimed, his voice booming like thunder. A chill ran down my spine. Who was he? How did he know? "I can help you," he said, as if reading my thoughts. The eyes of my team bore into him, a mix of curiosity and skepticism. He pulled out a worn notebook, pages filled with scribbles that seemed to dance. "But it will cost you," I held my breath. A million questions and fears flooded my mind. Who was this man, and what did he want from us? Could we trust him? My heart raced, and for a moment, I weighed our desperation against the unknown. What secrets lay in those pages? Could he indeed help us rise? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The rain continued to pour outside, the patter on the windows growing louder, a discordant symphony to match the turmoil inside my heart. The stranger stood before us, an enigma cloaked in soaked fabric, and despite the dampness, a spark of something raw and powerful emanated from him. "What do you want?" I finally managed, my voice a mere whisper, almost drowned out by the relentless drumming of the rain. My team shifted anxiously. Their eyes darted between me and this unpredictable interloper. His lips curled into a slight smile, both disarming and maddening. "I want to help you find your vision, the spark that started it all, the thing that ignited passion and drive. But it won't come without sacrifice." My pulse quickened. "What do you mean by sacrifice?" With a glint of mischief in his eyes, he stepped closer. "In order to rise, you must confront the ashes of what remains. That means digging deep, unraveling the conflicts that hold you back not just in your company, but within yourselves." Sam's brow furrowed in confusion. "Are you suggesting therapy? We need strategies and ideas, not a self-help session." The stranger's laughter boomed through the cramped office, a sound I couldn't place. It was neither dismissive nor cruel, but rather filled with a haunting assurance. "You can't grow a garden without understanding its roots." I hesitated, caught between doubt and a flicker of hope. Perhaps this was exactly the catalyst we needed. Perhaps confronting the chaos within would lead us to a path we could not yet see. But could we trust him? I stole a glance at Margaret, who was still processing his presence. Her expression was wary, yet curious, as if she too felt this strange energy. "All right," I said, surprising even myself with my boldness. "Let's hear your plan." The hope ignited a spark between us, just a tiny sliver breaking through our thick fog of despair. The stranger smiled wider, the change in atmosphere palpable. "Meet me at the cafe down the street tomorrow at 10 a.m. Bring your dreams, your fears, and your willingness to unearth what has been buried at AS. He turned to leave. A pang of anxiety mixed with anticipation swelled in my chest. Wait, what's your name? He paused at the door, glancing back with a knowing look. Names are just labels. Call me whatever you need. And with that, he pushed through the door, leaving us in stunned silence. Just then, Margaret stood up, her coffee cup clattering to the floor as she rushed to the window, peering out into the rain. Who was that? She breathed, a mix of admiration and skepticism resonating in her voice. That I don't know. I replied, my thoughts swirling like the storm outside. But maybe, just maybe's what we need. The group settled back into the tense quiet, uncertainty mingling with a distant whisper of hope. As the hours dragged on leading to the next morning, I couldn't shake the heaviness looming in the corners of my mind. What if diving into our vulnerabilities exposed fissures too deep to repair? Feeling overwhelmed, I sought solace in the photographs on my desk, the moments of joy and laughter. Yet, the smiles in those images seemed to mock the reality we face today. Morning dawned overcast, casting a gray pallor over the city. I arrived at the cafe, my heart racing, scanning the eclectic crowd for the enigmatic figure. Surrounded by clinking mugs and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee, I could feel the tension stirring inside me like a slow boil. Moments later, he walked in, the same soaked trench coat now replaced by a dry jacket. The lively energy emanating from him ignited the space. He approached me, and I almost drowned in those piercing, knowing eyes. Are you ready to uncover your truth? He asked, his voice steady. I think so, I replied, though I wasn't completely certain. He gestured for me to follow him to a quieter corner. Let's start with what you fear losing the most. Before I could respond, a shout erupted from the cafe entrance, shattering the moment. A frantic young woman burst in, her chest heaving as she scanned the room. Has anyone seen a little girl? She gasped, her voice trembling. With panic, my heart lurched. I recognized that desperation. I had once wandered these streets, burdened by the weight of lost hope. I glanced at the stranger, who now wore an expression reflecting concern. Let's help her, he said, motioning for me to follow him as he approached the trembling woman. I felt a swell of empathy that eclipsed my own worries, and together we moved toward her. As we approached, the stranger leaned in, his voice low and calming. Let's see if we can find her, he assured her, but not before turning to me and whispering. This is where kindness can plant the seeds of change. That I took a breath, steeling myself for the unknown. But in that moment, as I helped gather people and share the woman's desperation, a new realization began to take root deep within me. Perhaps rising from the ashes wasn't just about our company. It was intertwined with the lives we could touch, with every little kindness that might create ripples of hope in our broken world. But as we combed the street and called out, an unexpected feeling of dread enveloped me. What if this would be another moment of failure? And as if answering my thoughts, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I fished it out and stared at the message, my heart dropping as the world around me spun into a void. It was a notice from the bank, an immediate call on our loan. Our time was running out. The anxiety of failure crashed down again, and a weight pressed on my chest like never before. Come on, the stranger said, snapping me back to reality. The girl won't find herself. We need to act. But as we ventured deeper into the labyrinth of city streets, my mind spun with fear and uncertainty. The cliff of despair loomed before us again. We had only just begun, and time was running out. The sun struggled to break through the heavy clouds, casting a dim light over the city as we fanned out, scanning alleyways and calling out for the lost girl. Anxiety twisted in my gut, fueled by the bank's ultimatum buzzing persistently in my mind. Each moment felt suspended in a desperate suspension, marred by the shadows of neglect. Yet, the frantic mother's face, captured by the ache of a parent's worst fear, anchored me. Is she your daughter? I asked gently, in a moment of quiet between shouts. The woman, her eyes glistening with unrealized hope, nodded against trembling lips. Yes, Emily. She just ran off to play. Her voice cracked. I could almost taste the sorrow and regret hanging between us. The stranger took charge, his demeanor exuding an effortless calm as he organized a search. His presence felt like a lighthouse in a storm, something to cling to in the chaos enveloping us. He had a way of coaxing hope from the thin air around us, Even I began to feel the effect. "Everyone, spread out and check near the playgrounds," he commanded, snapping into an authoritative role that seemed natural. I admired his confidence, but the moment was laced with uncertainty. What if we didn't find her? What if I faltered again? Another failed endeavor to add to the list. Gripping my phone tightly, I turned back to the mother, who was now pacing back and forth. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, as guilt contorted her features. "I thought she'd be fine for just a moment." "Please, don't blame yourself," I said, wishing I could ease her aching heart. "Let's focus on finding her." We split into teams, the gathering crowd forming a makeshift search party. I pushed my fears behind me, muscling through the rising tide of dread. As I called for Emily, my voice echoed against damp bricks, merging with the sounds of distant laughter and children playing, painful reminders of innocence and potential loss. It wasn't long before a small group of mothers joined us, drawn by the palpable distress. I felt a flicker of warmth at their empathy, one mother placing a comforting hand on the frantic woman's shoulder. In that moment, their shared concern knotted together their hearts, igniting an unexpected kindness that rippled through the crowd. Then, at the corner of the park, I spotted a small figure darting behind an old oak tree. My heart raced. "Emily!" I shouted, my voice a blend of urgency and relief. As I approached, I could see curly hair bouncing in the breeze, a mismatched dress of vibrant colors blending into the flowers lining the path. She slowly peeked from her hiding spot, eyes wide, trying to gauge the commotion she unintentionally caused. As I knelt to her level, the surrounding din faded. "Are you okay? Your mom is looking for you." I tried to reassure her, my own sense of panic melting into a wash of relief. "We're going to bring you to her." When I turned back to the woman, tears of joy streaming down her face, my heart swelled. At that moment, a soft glow radiated through the dense fog of our situation. With Emily safe, it felt as if we had sparked a flicker of hope. But reality gripped my heart once more when I felt my phone buzzing incessantly in my pocket again, reminding me of the impending threat looming over our dreams and aspirations. As the crowd cheered in relief, the stranger approached me, his expression thoughtful yet loaded with urgency. "You held on to fear for too long. Every moment of kindness counts, and this is just the beginning," he urged, keeping his voice low so as not to interrupt the joyful reunion that I wanted to believe him. Yet the weight of our financial crisis pinned me firmly to the ground. "We're falling apart," I whispered, biting back the desperation in my throat. "I don't know how to save us. Change starts by facing fears head-on," he replied, a mix of intensity and support in his gaze. "Your company is a reflection of you. How you nurture your own hearts will define its future. It is in the struggles and connections that your vision may rise from the ashes." His words hung in the air, suspended between possibility and despair. But before I could wrap my mind around them, a chilling scream cut through the joyful commotion. I froze, terror flooding my veins as I turned to see a figure in dark clothing darting away from the playground. A flicker of white fabric clutched in their hand. "Emily's dressed in oh," I gasped. The atmosphere shifted instantly, as confusion erupted into chaos. "Call the police," the frantic mother yelled, her face twisting in renewed anguish. I looked at the stranger, who now wore a serious expression. "We have no time. We must act fast," he stated firmly. Without thinking, I bolted after the fleeing figure, adrenaline pumping through my body. "Stop!" I yelled, fear and determination igniting new strength within me. But as I chased after the specter vanishing down a side street, one terrifying thought broke through the frantic tide of my mind. What if this whole day had been a cruel trick, a distraction from our inevitable downfall? What if I was chasing a ghost instead of clawing my way towards salvation? The stranger's echoing words clung to me, but I could feel the abyss yawning open beneath my feet. Would the kindness of strangers be enough to pull us all back? The night cast a daunting shadow as I sprinted down the quiet side street, each step amplifying the pounding of my heart. The world around me blurred into a haze, my focus locked solely on the silhouette slipping away. I had no plan, no strategy. All my instincts screamed for me to move, to act, to save the light that flickered within this child. "Stop!" I shouted again, desperation lacing my voice. "You won't get away with this." My throat burned with the effort, but the figure seemed to vanish into thin air, gliding around the corner like a wisp of smoke. The cacophony of chaos faded behind me. I was alone now, the cool night air rushing past as I rounded the bend, but the streets were deserted. Silence hung heavily, wrapping around me like a shroud. Was this really happening? Was I chasing phantoms and losing sight of the very real dangers lurking in my own life? Suddenly, the echo of laughter pierced through the silence, reminding me of the joy I'd witnessed just moments before. My mind raced back to the mother cradling Emily, her face a tapestry of relief and gratitude. And yet, an unsettling thought remained whispered in the back of my mind. How many others were like me, barely hanging on as the storm raged around them? Think. I muttered to myself, struggling to ground my thoughts. There had to be a connection, a reason for this madness. Why would someone want to abduct a little girl? The bank's threats loomed large over my life, but this felt like a twisted greed rooted in pain. At that moment, I spotted a flicker of white on the ground, a piece of fabric, torn and crumpled near an alley's mouth. My breath hitched as I bent to inspect it. It was part of Emily's dress, the bright pattern unmistakable in the darkness. Panic clawed at my chest, spiraling into a dizzying torrent of fear and uncertainty. The sound of footsteps approached, and I twisted around, heart racing wildly, expecting the worst. But instead, it was the stranger, the one who had offered wisdom before the chaos had unfolded. He looked breathless, his brow glistening under the glow of the street lamp. We need to stay focused. Did you see which way she went? His urgency drew me back into the moment, but I could feel the weight of defeat pressing against my chest. I struggled, fighting against the despair that threatened to pull me under. I lost her. I thought I could, but what if I failed? My voice cracked under the weight of my admission, an avalanche of self-doubt cascading through me. He stepped closer, dropping his tone to a gentle murmur. You haven't failed. You fought for a child. That's what matters. Now, we have to find her. There was a raw sincerity in his gaze, a light that sparked something within me. And suddenly, I remembered the warmth of the community gathered at the park, the small gestures of kindness woven into an uncertain fabric. She was in a white dress, I reminded him, glancing back down the alley. Maybe someone saw her. We can reach out to the nearby shops. Good idea, he replied, and my pulse quickened again with renewed purpose. Let's split up. They'll check the storefronts on this block. You take the next one over. If you see her call out, we set off in opposite directions. But as I turned to head towards the street lined with small boutiques and cafes, a familiar pang sliced through me, a realization of how interconnected our lives were, how we were all grasping at threads of hope amid a tenacious storm. The first shop I entered was closed, darkness cocooning the inside. I turned to the next, my heart sinking with every step, a cloud of anxiety settling over my shoulders. Have you seen a little girl in a white dress? I asked the weary clerk, a man with dark circles under his eyes. He shook his head, but before I could leave, he caught my wrist gently. Hey, I'm sorry to hear about that. My daughter loves playing dress-up like that. Here's something. He rummaged through a drawer and plucked out a fresh piece of chalk, pressing it into my hand. Write anywhere you can. Let people know. I blinked, the unexpected kindness wrapping around me like a lifeline. Thank you, I whispered, touched by his small but earnest gesture, filling my heart with a flicker of hope in a world that often felt cold and unforgiving. With renewed determination, I stepped into the crisp night air, the chalk clutched tightly between my fingers. This wasn't the end. Maybe it was a chance to raise awareness, to rally the community, to create more connections. Each step felt significant. I could use this moment, this pain, to illuminate a path forward. As I reached a crowded plaza, my mind swirled with possibilities. It was then, amidst the flickering streetlights, that a fragmented figure drew near, a woman, shoulders hunched, eyes darting nervously. My heart stilled in my chest, recognition washing over me like ice water. It was Emily's mother, but something was different. There was a palpable fear radiating from her, a surging grief that felt almost haunting. I need to talk to you, she demanded, voice trembling with urgency. It's about Emily. The world around us dulled, every sound fading as her words hung in the air, crackling with unspoken terror. What about her? I breathed, trepidation clawing at my throat. Her gaze dropped, revealing a sense of desperation that made my pulse quicken. You need to understand, my daughter didn't just wander off, she was meant to find something. Something that's tied to us all. Ice gripped my heart. There was no more denying it. This was not just a simple case of a lost child. The shadows around us deepened, and with each word, the enormity of the truth loomed ever closer. What lay beneath the surface of our struggles was far more intricate than I had ever imagined. And as the dark clouds of uncertainty rolled back in, a whisper of a revelation began to flicker in the shadows, the possibility that our lives were intricately woven into an unseen narrative, one that could either set us free or lead to our undoing. A chill ran down my spine as Emily's mother uttered those words, her eyes glistening with unspoken dread. I could feel the weight of her desperation pressing against me as I searched for the right response. What do you mean? What was she meant to find? I stammered, struggling to understand the implications hidden beneath her cryptic statement. The fabric of the night seemed to thicken around us, intensifying the gravity of the moment. Her hands trembled as she reached into her pocket, retrieving a small, worn-out notebook, its pages frayed and stained. This belonged to her grandfather. He was obsessed with a legend, one that hinted at a treasure connected to family and sacrifice. She opened the notebook to reveal sketches and notes, words scribbled in frantic handwriting that spoke of quests and quests lost to time. Confusion clouded my thoughts. Treasure? What are you saying? Is this why someone took her? Emily's mother glanced over her shoulder nervously before leaning in closer. I'm afraid that someone is not just any stranger. It's someone who believes in this legend even more than we do. Her voice dropped to a whisper, every syllable heavy with dread. They will stop at nothing to get to Emily because they believe she holds the key to their desires. The air turned electric as the enormity of her words settled in the space between us. Could it be true? Was Emily more than just a precious child at that moment? Did she embody something far greater, a hope, a legacy, a connection to a past that had been buried deep within the shadows of grief and loss? What do we do? I asked, panic surging through me as my heart raced in anticipation of the imminent threat that lurked even in the sacred bonds of family. We have to get her back and uncover whatever this secret is before it's too late. We can't let them have her. Her face grew pale, but there was a fierce determination in her eyes, a glimmer of something that warmed the icy grip of fear that had enveloped me. As we stood there, my mind spiraled into chaos, moving from one thought to the next. But then I remembered the kindness of the clerk at the shop, the warmth of that small gesture. If there were people willing to help a stranger in the midst of pain, surely we could rally together to protect Emily. Let's gather whoever we can, I urged, my voice steadier now, anchoring to the flicker of hope that had ignited within me. If people in the community can come together for joy, surely they will unite against this threat. Emily's mother nodded, but the anguish did not leave her gaze. What if they don't believe us? What if they think we're crazy? Then we show them the truth. We share Emily's story. This isn't just about her anymore. This is about all of us. People need to know that we cannot ignore this darkness. It thrives on our division, our apathy. I felt the urgency of my own words resonate with the fierce pulse of resolve within me. With a breath of newfound purpose, we swept through the streets, stopping to talk to anyone who would listen. Shop owners, restaurant patrons, even passers-by. Each encounter gave rise to the miraculous light of connection, hearts opening in empathy for a child that none of us knew, yet everyone could understand. Just as I began to feel a ripple of community forming in our wake, a loud crash echoed nearby, shattering the fragile moment. I exchanged a glance with Emily's mother, fear sparking as we instinctively ran towards the source of the sound. What we witnessed sent adrenaline coursing through our veins. A dark figure darting away, clutching something white, something unmistakably small. Emily! I screamed, taking off after the silhouette. My body felt a mixture of lead and fire as the chase unfolded. The adrenaline blurred the edges of my thoughts, narrowing my focus to the swaying figure just ahead. But the figure was fast, weaving through the crowds, a blur of desperation and determination. Don't lose her! Emily's mother shouted behind me, her voice urging me forward even as disbelief gripped my chest. With every hurried step, my thoughts raced between hope and despair. If this figure was the key to Emily's secret, Then did I have it in me to uncover the truth without losing her. As I rounded another corner, the figure stumbled, dropping the object in their hands, a rounded, glimmering object that caught the light just for a fleeting second before it vanished into the shadows. And at that moment, time seemed to freeze. What did they let go of? Could it have been the very spark of a mystery that tied us all together, a connection that would illuminate the path towards Emily? I reached the spot where they had dropped the object, but all I found was a broken glass, laying among the scattered echoes of the night. My chest tightened as I realized how close I had come, yet how far I truly was from unlocking this enigma. Did you see where they went? I gasped, glancing back towards Emily's mother, but the look on her face mirrored my own confusion and lost hope. No, she whispered, the despair lingering heavy in the air. But as I turned to retrace my steps, something caught my attention, a faint shimmer in the corner of my eye. Beneath the scattered debris of the alley lay a small, intricately carved locket, its surface glistening under the dim light. Picking it up, I felt the weight of eternity in my palm, and in that moment, the shroud of uncertainty began to lift. I had no idea what this locket signified, but instinct gnawed at me. It was a piece of the puzzle, one that promised to weave the tapestry of our lives together in ways we had yet to comprehend. And as I clutched the locket tightly, I felt a rush of determination surge through me once more. We had lost Emily in body, but her essence resonated through every connection we formed, every step we took. This was only the beginning of a journey that would lead to answers, one that would reveal the shadows lurking beneath the surface of our lives. With the items linked to Emily close at hand, I knew one thing with certainty. We had to find her and expose the truth at all costs. But little did I know, the truth was about to unfold in ways I could never have imagined. Because this was no ordinary quest. It was a desperate race against time, woven with the threads of fate, a journey that would change us all, forever. The locket felt both fragile and heavy in my hand, a small artifact burdened with untold stories. As the cool metal pressed against my skin, it ignited something deep within me, a need to understand its secrets, a need to piece together the puzzle of Emily's disappearance and the legacy hinted at in that tattered notebook. That we need to get this to someone who can help, I said, glancing back at Emily's mother. Her expression flickered with a hint of curiosity, and I could see the gears of thought whirring behind her eyes. Maybe the clerk from the shop? She suggested, her voice tinged with something fragile hope. Perhaps. Yes. He seemed to know more about the town's legends. He might recognize this emblem, I replied, determination solidifying within me. But as we turned to head back, an unsettling thought struck. What if the clerk was involved in this somehow? What if his kindness had been a facade? Guilt twisted at the edges of my resolve, but I brushed it aside. We needed allies, and he was our best lead. That we hurried through the streets, the locket clutched tightly in my palm. Each step echoed with urgency, yet uncertainty clung to the air like a dense fog. The memories of our earlier conversations flitted around meth, ideas of community, strength, and connection. It was almost laughable how quickly those feelings had evolved into a chase, a frantic attempt to reclaim what had been lost. When we reached the shop, a soft jingle sounded as we swung the door open. The clerk looked up from behind the counter, his brow furrowing at the sight of us. Back so soon? What's happened? He scanned our faces, noting the anxiety etched into every line that he took her. I breathed, my voice strained with emotion. Emily is missing. We found this. I held out the locket, my fingers shaking as he took it into his hands with an air of reverence. His eyes widened, and recognition dawned on his face. This belonged to Emily's grandfather, he murmured, tracing the intricate carving with a gentle finger. The legends he spoke of, they weren't merely stories. That I felt a spark ignite within me. What do you mean? What are these legends? What does this locket signify? The tale of the lost treasure of Elysium, he said, looking up and locking eyes with me. It's not just a legend, it's tied to a lineage, to sacrifices made for protection. Those who believe in it, like the figure you chased, think they can reclaim power lost in the past. And they'll do anything to harness that power, even abduct a child. The weight of his words struck me like a physical blow. This was no mere treasure hunt. This was a confrontation with a dark legacy that had seeped into our lives without our knowledge. But why Emily? I asked, feeling my chest tighten. Why her? Because, he said solemnly, she embodies the last connection to that legacy. If they believe she holds the key, a sudden crash echoed from the back of the shop, causing my heart to seize. The clerk's eyes darted to the door fueled by an instinct I couldn't explain. I rushed towards the sound, dragging Emily's mother behind me. We skidded to a halt just outside the stockroom, where an overturned box lay sprawled across the floor. Crates were scattered, spilling their contents, a collection of peculiar artifacts, aged trinkets, and, amidst the chaos, a map. The clerk appeared behind us, concern etched across his face as he picked up the map. "I'm sorry, this was left behind from years ago during my grandfather's time," he muttered. "Nobody should have been here." "Can we see it?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. He unfolded the map carefully, revealing an intricate design of the town intertwined with cryptic symbols. Marked in the center was a place labeled with an emblem identical to the one on the locket. My heart raced. This could be a breakthrough. But as I focused deeply on the map, the door flew open with a violent creak. My breath caught in my throat as I looked up to see a cloaked figure, their face obscured by shadows. "Give it to me," the figure demanded, a low growl in their voice that reverberated with menace. Every instinct told me to run, to protect the locket, to care for Emily, but overpowered by fear, I froze. The clerk stepped between us, a hand raised in defiance. "You're not taking anything from here," he shouted, glaring at the intruder, who only laughed, a harsh, chilling sound that echoed in the space. Before I could comprehend the unfolding chaos, the figure lunged forward, reaching for the locket just as I tightened my grip around it. The world shrank to that moment, the urgency, the conflict, everything colliding into an explosive culmination of fear. "Run," I shouted, pushing Emily's mother back as adrenaline surged. We needed to escape. We were on the brink of a revelation, and I wouldn't let fear extinguish our flickering flame of hope. In an instinctive blur of movement, I darted past the clerk, snatching the map from his hands as I dashed toward the exit. "We can't let them have it," I yelled back, determination pushing me forward. I burst into the cool night air, every breath pierced with dread. I knew one thing for certain. Behind every shadow lay another piece of the puzzle, and I was determined to uncover it by any means necessary. But as I looked back, the cloaked figure slipped away into the darkness, their laughter lingering in the air like a malevolent whisper, promising more confrontation and secrets to unfold. We were merely on the precipice of a tangled fate, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being inexorably drawn into something much larger than ourselves. The quest to uncover the truth about Emily was spiraling into chaos, and for the first time, I feared it could consume us all. The stars hung low in the night sky, casting ethereal light over the deserted streets as we hurriedly made our way away from the shop. I glanced at Emily's mother. Her face was pale, the fight draining from her eyes along with every ounce of hope we clung to. Clutching the map and locket tightly against my chest, I felt the weight of the secrets pressing down on me even more with each hurried step. "What do we do now?" she gasped, the tremor in her voice betraying her fear. "We can't go home. They could follow us." I nodded, but my heart raced with uncertainty. "We need to find a place to figure this out, somewhere safe." My mind raced back to the abandoned cabin tucked in the woods that I had visited with friends growing up. It felt like a lifetime ago. It was supposed to be a spot for adventure, but now it offered a flicker of refuge from our present nightmare. "We could go to the cabin," I suggested, barely above a whisper. Her brow furrowed, but then softened with reluctant agreement. "All right," she said. "Let's go there." The moonlight illuminated our path as we moved quickly down the familiar trails to the cabin. With every step, I tried to calm the chaos swirling within me. Deep down, a determination began to simmer, fanned by the haunting echoes of the cloaked figure's laughter. I could almost feel their presence trailing behind us, lurking within the shadows. Upon reaching the cabin, I pushed the weathered door open. It creaked loudly, its unwelcoming sound reverberating in the thick silence. Inside, the scent of damp wood and the earthy notes of moss greeted us, a reminder of moments paused in time. Candle stubs lay scattered about, remnants of past gatherings, their waxen bodies echoing the love of long-forgotten friendships. "Let's gather some light," I said, scrounging through the drawers until I found a few matches. A flicker ignited within me as the first glow illuminated our surroundings. The shadows danced on the walls, a comforting reminder that we were still here, still fighting to as we settled. I spread the map across a dusty table, the locket gleaming under the dim light. Emily's mother hovered close, peering over my shoulder. What if we use the map to find where we need to go? Her hope was fragile but mighty. That I pointed to the emblem etched in the center of the map. This is where we need to be. A strange sense of duty filled me. If Emily is tied to this legacy, we must uncover the truth. It might lead us to her. That we studied the symbols, attempting to decipher their underlying meaning as rain began to patter against the roof, a soothing sound amidst the turmoil. Then, a sudden memory hit me. When I was here last, I found something, a hint about the treasure. I rummaged through my pocket, retrieving a tattered piece of paper that had once been tucked inside a book of local folklore. What did you find? Emily's mother leaned closer, intrigued. I unfolded the paper carefully, revealing scrawlings of previous notes. It speaks of a guardian, a spirit that protects the treasure of Elysium. The clues suggest finding an anchoring point, something that could lead to the next step. For the first time, the energy in the room shifted. Hope gripped us tightly. What if this spirit is tied to Emily's great-grandfather? She asked, her eyes lighting up with renewed vigor. We need to figure out what this anchoring point could be, I said thoughtfully. The hidden stories of the town entwined with us, drawing me closer to uncovering each thread. And in that moment, despite the scars of fear and uncertainty, a flicker of hope ignited between us. But as we pored over the map, the gentle rain turned into a torrential downpour. It drummed heavily against the roof, echoing the growing tension we both felt. Suddenly, a loud crash rang out from outside, branches snapping and heavy footsteps marching through the underbrush. Someone's here, I whispered, covering the map and locket with my body, heart pounding in my chest. Emily's mother backed away, eyes wide with terror. Adrenaline surged through me as I peered through a gap in the cabin's rotting wood, and there it was, a silhouette against the night, lurking just outside the faint glow of the cabin's light. Don't let them see you, I breathed, feeling the dread coil tighter in my gut. The revelation sank. I couldn't predict who it was, but the shadows seemed too familiar. A chilling laugh split the air, deeper and darker than before, a sound that echoed with sinister intent. I froze, clutching the locket as if it could shield me from the encroaching dread. The figure stepped closer, illuminated by the moonlight, a glimpse of the cloak, the cold glint of eyes, and in that moment, I recognized the outlinean enemy turned familiar. Time to pay the price for digging where you don't belong, the figure said, their voice a haunting whisper that seeped through the cracks of the cabin. In that instant, my heart dropped. The shadows had more secrets than we bargained for, and now they were tangling tighter around us, threatening to pull us into the dark. The figure outside paused, the eerie laughter still echoing in the corners of my mind. My heart raced, each beat a desperate plea to remain steadfast. I shot a quick glance at Emily's mother, who stood frozen, apprehension radiating from her. The shadows outside seemed to thicken, anticipating our every move. Stay quiet, I whispered, urging her subtly as I felt the weight of the locket pressing against my chest, a reminder of the ties that held us captive in this harrowing moment. The map lay forgotten on the table, its promise dimmed beneath the looming threat. Suddenly, the figure drew nearer, their features coming into sharper focus. I recognized them instantly. Marcus, a fellow student from our high school days, though he had changed significantly since those seemingly innocent years. What had transformed him into this figure cloaked in darkness? My instincts screamed at me to retreat, but we had nowhere to run. What do you want, Marcus? I called out, attempting to mask the quiver in my voice. We haven't done anything to you. A sinister grin broke across his face. Oh, but isn't that where you're mistaken? You've dug up dirt that was never meant to see the light. You have something that belongs to me. His eyes glanced towards the cabin's entrance, a predator assessing prey. Hand over the locket, and maybe I won't take what I've come for by force. I know. Emily's mother interjected, her voice suddenly fierce. You don't know what you're asking for. I admired the courage hidden beneath her fearful exterior, but I also feared for her safety. Marcus laughed mockingly. It's not what I want. It's what the others want. You don't understand the power in your hands, do you? That locket isn't just a pretty trinket. It holds secrets. I can help you, but you need to trust me. A chill ran through me. Trust him? The darkness that surrounded him made it hard to distinguish truth from deceit. I felt a silent battle raging inside. Was it the same Marcus who shared laughter and dreams in the hallways? Or had he become something altogether different, a harbinger of chaos? Before I could respond, the howling wind picked up, almost as if it were amplifying the tension we felt, swirling around the cabin in a frenzy. "Let's make a deal," he proposed, narrowing his gaze. "Follow me, and I'll show you more about the locket and how you might find Emily. But stay here, and I assure you, both of you will regret it." "Why should we trust you?" I shot back, instinctively pulling Emily's mother closer. She felt small next to me, and I realized then she relied on me, on this fragile thread of resolve to shield her from the monsters lurking in the night. "Because they're hunting for you," he replied, addressing her directly now. "And the only way to protect your daughter is to learn about this legacy." My hands trembled as I recalled the stories I had grown up with, the tales of not just guardians, but of betrayals thick with blood. We can't just walk out there. What if you're deceiving us?" He shrugged, stepping back. "You can stay here and wait for the shadows to sweep in, or you can take your chance with me." He held out a gloved hand, as if offering a lifeline strung with uncertainty. "Think about it," he continued. "If we don't find the real answers behind the locket, you lose her forever. And if that doesn't scare you, nothing will." Fear twisted within me, yet the desperation in his tone pierced through the cocoon of doubt. I could feel the unmistakable pulse of a connection threaded through the tales and secrets of our family histories, the legacy of Elysium and its guardian whispering to me from the depths of time. "Emily," I said cautiously, glancing at her mother. "What do we do?" As she met my gaze, uncertainty clouded her eyes, but the flicker of hope was still in her heart. "If he's telling the truth, if he can help us," she stammered, glancing nervously between me and Marcus, "then maybe we need to hear him out." I hesitated, weighing the options. Just then, a sudden crash of thunder echoed through the air, and the cabin shuddered. My skin prickled, the fear tangling tightly around my heart. We could be walking into a trap, but the need to save Emily gripped me even tighter. I took a step towards the silhouette of Marcus, ready or at least willing to follow him into the uncertain night. The heavy sound of footsteps broke through the increasingly ferocious storm outside. My breath caught when I noticed two more figures emerging from the darkness, cloaked and ominous. "Looks like you're not the only one looking for the truth," Marcus whispered, his voice strained as the glow of moonlight illuminated the fear in his eyes. A rebellion ignited within me. But would I have the strength to fight? The tangled web of legacies, secrets, and unforeseen dangers spun ever tighter around us, layering my chest with heaviness. I didn't know what would lie ahead, but could sense that this night would change everything forever. And there, amidst the chaos and uncertainty, I realized I had a choice that could not be undone, a reckless pause in our resolve that threatened to strip us of what little we held dear. The shadows lunged closer, revealing their own whispers of truth intertwined with darkness. The revelation began to seep into my consciousness. Was this a crossroads, or a descent into the unknown? The end I feared, or a fork leading to redemption? The night held its breath as we stood surrounded by cloaked silhouettes and half-buried truths, standing on the precipice of fate, and I could feel the weight of it all bearing down on my shoulders. As I prepared to make a decision that felt greater than destiny itself, a blinding flash illuminated the night, revealing something profound waiting to be unearthed. The wind howled ferociously, swirling around us like vengeful spirits, the tension tight enough to snap. As my heart raced, the blinding flash of lightning revealed the cloaked figures that loomed ominously behind Marcus. 4 in total, their intentions cloaked just as their bodies were in shadowy fabric. I fought to hold myself steady, the locket hanging heavy against my chest, a prisoner of its ancient whispers. "Who are they?" I demanded, my voice barely above a whisper, yet slicing through the storm's roar. "Others like me," Marcus replied, his expression more stricken than before. "And they won't stop until they have the locket." His words were urgent, weaving the threads of dread tighter around my instincts. With every pulse of thunder, the figures drew nearer, and I could finally identify glimpses of their faces. Each expression was unique, but shared a common thread of resolute determination. I glanced at Emily's mother, and her eyes glimmered with a mixture of fear and resolve.